that stupid admission letter. You still think you will become something. You are dreaming too much.
Who beggar down the street that want a wife? That is where she belongs. Let her suffer there. At least she will leave my house.
Welcome to Tales Vibe P, where laughter and lessons flow together. If you love a good story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more tales every week, and please tell us where you're watching from in the comments. We'd love to know where our story family is tuning in from.
Hey there, pour a cup of tea, get comfy, and let your heart listen. The story's about to start. Zainab was still very young when her mother died. She did not fully understand what death meant, but she felt the emptiness it left behind. From that day, her world became quiet in a way she could not explain. The woman who used to braid her hair, call her pet names, and wait for her at the door was suddenly gone. Her father, Baba Sani, became everything to her. Baba Sani was not a rich man, but he was honest and hardworking. He woke up early every day and returned home tired, yet he never forgot his daughter. He cooked for her, washed her school uniform, and made sure she never felt alone. When people told him that a man could not raise a girl properly by himself, he ignored them. Zainab was his pride, and he treated her like gold. Every evening, after dinner, Baba Sani would sit with Zainab and ask about her day. He listened to her stories as if they were the most important things in the world. When she struggled with schoolwork, he stayed up with her, even when his eyes were heavy with sleep. One night, Zainab asked her father a simple question. "Daddy, what will I become when I grow up?" Baba Sani smiled and placed his hand on her head. "You will be a lawyer," he said. "You will speak for people who cannot speak for themselves." Zainab laughed at first. The word sounded too big for her small mouth. But the way her father said it made her believe it was possible. From that day, the idea stayed in her heart. She began to read more, study harder, and dream bigger. Whenever life became difficult, Baba Sani reminded her of that promise. "No matter what happens," he would say, "education is your way out." Zainab held on to those words. She watched her classmates give up, but she did not. Even when money was tight, her father found a way. He sold personal items, skipped meals, and worked extra hours just to keep her in school. Zainab noticed his sacrifices, even when he never spoke about them. She knew her father was carrying a heavy load just for her future. One evening, as they sat together, Baba Sani looked at her for a long time. "Zainab," he said softly, "promise me something." She nodded. "Promise me you will never give up on your dream, even if I am not here." Zainab felt fear rise in her chest, but she answered clearly, "I promise, Daddy." That promise became her anchor. She did not know then how hard life would become, or how much that promise would be tested. But deep inside her, Zainab believed one thing strongly. As long as she kept her promise, her father's voice would never leave her. Zainab kept her promise to her father, but as the years passed, Baba Sani began to change. He grew quieter. He still loved his daughter deeply, but Zainab noticed the loneliness in his eyes. The house felt too empty for one man and a growing girl. Even Zainab felt it, though she never said it aloud. One evening, Baba Sani called her to sit beside him. "My daughter," he said, "I have been thinking." Zainab listened closely. "I need to marry again," he continued. "Not to replace your mother, but to help us. A woman's care is important in a home." Zainab felt unsure, but she trusted her father. If he believed it was right, she would support him. Some months later, Baba Sani brought Titi into their home as his wife. At first, Titi was everything Baba Sani hoped for. She smiled often and spoke gently. She called Zainab my daughter and praised her whenever visitors were around. She helped with meals and took charge of the house. Baba Sani was relieved. He believed peace had returned to their home. Zainab wanted to believe it too. For a while, things seemed fine. Titi attended school meetings, corrected Zainab's uniform, and sometimes even helped her study. Baba Sani relaxed, convinced he had made the right choice. He focused more on work, trusting that his daughter was in good hands. But slowly, small things began to change. Titi's smiles did not always reach her eyes. Her tone became sharp when Baba Sani was not around. Simple mistakes became reasons for insults. If Zainab asked questions, Titi snapped. If she spoke too much, Titi silenced her. Zainab stayed quiet. She told herself it was nothing. She remembered her promise to her father and focused on school. Then Baba Sani fell ill. At first, it looked like ordinary sickness. But days turned into weeks and weeks into weakness. Baba Sani could no longer work. The strong man Zainab knew became thin and tired. During those days, Titi changed completely. She complained often and grew impatient. The care she once showed disappeared. Zainab became the one tending to her father, feeding him, cleaning him, sitting by his side through long nights. One night, Baba Sani called Zainab close. His voice was weak, but his eyes were strong. "Zainab," he whispered, "life may become hard for you." Tears filled her eyes. "Promise me again," he said. "Promise me you will go to school and become that lawyer." Zainab held his hand tightly. "I promise, Daddy." Not long after, Baba Sani died. If this story is speaking to your heart, take a moment to subscribe to Tales Vibe. Here, we share stories about truth, pride, and the lessons hidden in everyday life. The house fell silent, and with his death, the woman Zainab thought she knew also disappeared. After Baba Sani's burial, the house no longer felt like home. Zainab moved through the rooms like a stranger, careful not to be noticed. Titi no longer pretended to care. The softness in her voice vanished the moment the mourners left. What remained was cold silence and sharp commands. Zainab still carried her father's last words in her heart. Every morning, she reminded herself of the promise she had made. School became her only hope, the one thing she believed could still save her. Then the letter came. Zainab held it with trembling hands when she saw her name printed clearly at the top. She had been admitted to study law. For a moment, she forgot the pain, the loss, the fear. She felt her father's presence, as if he was standing beside her, smiling with pride. She rushed to Titi, her heart full. "Mama," Zainab said softly, holding out the letter, "I got admission." Titi took the paper and read it slowly. Her face hardened. She dropped the letter on the table, as if it burned her fingers. "So," she asked. Zainab swallowed. "Daddy wanted me to go to school. I can start preparing." Titi laughed, but there was no joy in it. "School," she said. "Who will pay? Who will cook? Who will help me run this house?" Zainab felt confused. "Daddy left money. I can combine school and helping." Before she could finish, Titi slapped the table. "Enough," she shouted. "Your father is dead. His dreams died with him." The words hit Zainab like a blow. She stared at Titi, unable to speak. "You will not step into any university," Titi continued. "From today, you belong here. You will work and earn your food." Zainab bent to pick up the letter, but Titi snatched it from her hand and tore it in two. Zainab felt something break inside her. That night, she cried quietly, pressing the torn pieces together as if she could fix them. She whispered her father's name again and again, begging for strength. From that day, everything changed. Zainab woke up before dawn and slept late into the night. She cleaned, cooked, and ran errands without rest. Any mistake brought insults. Any question brought anger. Titi reminded her daily that she was useless and unwanted. Still, Zainab did not let go of her dream. She kept the torn admission letter hidden, folding it carefully like a secret treasure. Whenever she felt weak, she touched it and remembered her promise. But Titi watched her closely. The hope in Zainab's eyes irritated her. It reminded her of Baba Sani's love, and she hated it. She began to see Zainab not as a child, but as a burden she needed to remove. And in her heart, a cruel plan began to form. Titi did not waste time turning her words into action. The very next morning, Zainab was shaken awake before the sun had fully risen. There was no greeting, no kindness. "Get up," Titi said. "Work is waiting." From that day, Zainab's life followed one long pattern of labor. She cooked, cleaned, washed clothes, and ran errands without rest. What used to be shared duties became her burden alone. If food burned, she was insulted. If water spilled, she was slapped. Silence became her shield. The torn admission letter stayed hidden under her mattress. At night, when the house was quiet, Zainab would take it out and smooth the edges with her fingers. She read her name again and again, as if doing so would keep the dream alive. Titi noticed. She noticed the way Zainab still studied old notes. She noticed the way her eyes lit up when she heard students passing outside. Each time, anger rose in her chest. "You still think you will become something?" Titi would ask. "You are dreaming too much." Zainab said nothing. Soon, the work increased. Titi made sure Zainab stayed busy from morning till night. There was no time to rest, no time to think. Hunger became normal. Tiredness became a habit. Whenever Zainab begged to return to school, Titi responded with mockery. "Did school save your father?" she asked one day. If education was so powerful, why is he dead? The words cut deep, but Zainab held them inside. Titi also began to remind Zainab that she owned the house now. Everything here belongs to me, she said. You have nothing. Zainab slowly understood the truth. As long as she stayed, her dream would never breathe. Her father's business, his savings, even his memory were now controlled by Titi. Still, Zainab endured. She remembered her father's voice telling her not to give up. She remembered the way he believed in her when nobody else did. That memory kept her standing. But Titi had already decided. Zainab's presence felt like a reminder of a past she wanted to erase. Every time she looked at the girl, she saw Baba Sani's love, his trust, and his hope. And she hated it. One evening, Zainab returned late from errands, her body weak and her stomach empty. Titi stared at her with disgust. You are becoming useless, she said. You eat and do nothing. Zainab lowered her head. That night, as Zainab lay on her mat, she heard Titi talking in low tones nearby. Her name came up. Zainab held her breath and listened. And what she heard made her blood run cold. Titi was thinking of a final way to end her hope, for good. After that night, Zainab knew something was wrong. Titi's eyes followed her everywhere. Her words became heavier, filled with hatred. It was no longer just punishment. It felt planned. Zainab's work doubled. She was no longer just cleaning and cooking. Titi sent her out daily to help sell goods. She carried items from street to street, standing for long hours. When she returned, there was no rest waiting for her. Plates needed washing. Floors needed scrubbing. Clothes needed ironing. If Zainab slowed down, Titi reminded her who she was. You are not a child in this house, she would say. You are here to earn your food. Zainab's body grew tired, but her spirit refused to die. She spoke less and listened more. She learned to move quietly, to endure without complaint. At night, when pain spread through her body, she whispered prayers instead of crying aloud. People began to notice her change. She looked thinner. Her eyes lost their light. But no one asked questions. Everyone assumed Titi was doing her a favor by keeping her. One afternoon, Zainab returned with poor sales. She tried to explain, but Titi did not listen. You are useless, Titi shouted. Even small children do better than you. Zainab stood still, her hands shaking. Titi stepped closer. If not for your father's warning before he died, I would have sent you away long ago. That night, Zainab could not sleep. Her father's name echoed in her mind. She wondered how love could turn into this much cruelty. Days later, the truth revealed itself. Zainab returned early from work and heard Titi speaking with another woman. They did not see her. Zainab stood still and listened. There is a man at the junction, Titi said. A cripple. People say he wants a wife. The other woman laughed. A beggar? Yes, Titi replied. That is where she belongs. Let her suffer there. At least she will leave my house. Zainab's heart stopped. She still dreams of school, Titi continued. Marriage will end that nonsense. Zainab stepped back slowly, her hands covering her mouth. Her legs felt weak. Her stepmother was planning to marry her off like unwanted property. That night, Zainab cried until her chest hurt. She thought of her father. She thought of the promise. She felt trapped. The next morning, Titi called her. You will meet your husband soon, she said with a smile that carried no warmth. Prepare yourself. Zainab looked at her and understood one thing clearly. Her life as a servant was about to end, but not in the way she expected. After Titi spoke, the house felt even smaller. Zainab moved through her chores like a shadow. Her mind replayed the words again and again. A husband. A crippled beggar. Her future decided without her voice. Titi became unusually cheerful. She hummed while cooking and spoke loudly on the phone. Each call ended with laughter. Zainab understood the meaning. Everything had already been arranged. One evening, Titi sat across from her and spoke plainly. You will marry the man next week, she said. His name is Okafor. Zainab froze. Mama, she said quietly, please. Let me go to school. I can take care of myself. Titi laughed. School again? Marriage will cure that dream. Zainab felt her chest tighten. She wanted to shout, to run, to fight back. But years of fear held her still. She had no money, no relatives, no place to go. Titi continued. He is crippled, poor, and useless. That is the kind of life you deserve. Zainab lowered her head, not because she agreed, but because she was tired. Days passed quickly. Titi refused to listen to any plea. She picked a date and told neighbors openly. Some laughed. Others pitied Zainab. None stepped in. Zainab prayed silently every night. She did not pray for riches or comfort. She prayed for strength. If suffering was her portion, she asked for courage to endure it. On the morning of the wedding, Titi pushed an old dress into her hands. "This is enough for you," she said. "Do not disgrace me." Zainab dressed slowly. Her hands shook, but her face stayed calm. Deep inside, something had changed. She no longer expected rescue. She only wanted peace. At the church, whispers followed her. People stared. Some shook their heads. Others smiled cruelly. Then she saw Okafor. He sat in a wheelchair. His clothes were simple. His face showed no shame. When his eyes met Zainab's, he nodded slightly. "You are strong," he said softly. "Do not bow your head." Those words surprised her. No one had spoken to her like that in a long time. The ceremony was short. The laughter was loud. Titi sat proudly, convinced she had won. When Zainab said, "I do," her voice did not shake. She believed her life had ended. She did not know it was only beginning. After the wedding prayer ended, there was no joy, no celebration. People stood around, whispering and laughing as if they had just watched a show. Zainab felt the weight of their eyes on her back, but she refused to cry. She remembered Okafor's words and kept her head up. Titi looked pleased. "This is what you wanted," she said loudly, making sure others heard. "A husband." Zainab said nothing. Okafor wheeled himself beside her. "Let us go," he said calmly. They stepped outside together. The sun felt heavy on Zainab's skin, but the heavier thing was the shame people tried to throw at her. Some women shook their heads. "This girl's life is finished," one said. Others laughed. "From law school to Cripple's wife," another added. Zainab heard everything, but she did not respond. She had learned that silence could be strength. Okafor leaned closer to her. "Do not listen to them," he said. "They do not know your story." Zainab looked at him for the first time since the ceremony ended. His face was calm, not bitter, not angry. She wondered how someone mocked so much could still carry himself with dignity. Before she could speak, the sound of engines broke the noise around them. Cars. Not one. Not two. Several. People turned. Conversations stopped. Phones came out. Black cars rolled toward the church and stopped neatly in front. Men stepped out, well-dressed and serious. One of them walked straight to Okafor. "Sir," he said respectfully, bowing slightly. "We are ready." Zainab's heart skipped. "Sir?" She looked at Okafor. He smiled faintly. "Shall we go home?" he asked. Before she could ask what was happening, the man gently lifted Okafor and placed him into one of the cars. Another man opened the door for Zainab. "Madam," he said politely. Her legs felt weak. "Madam?" The crowd was silent now. The same people who laughed minutes ago could not speak. Titi's smile disappeared. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Zainab entered the car slowly, still confused, still afraid to believe anything. As the door closed, she looked out the window. She saw shock, envy, and fear on familiar faces. The cars moved. Zainab held her hands tightly on her lap. Her heart beat fast. She turned to Okafor. "Where are we going?" she asked quietly. "Who are you?" Okafor looked at her gently. "Home," he said. "Everything will be clear soon." Zainab leaned back, her mind spinning. Her marriage had begun without choice. But it was about to take her somewhere she never imagined. The car moved smoothly, but Zainab felt restless inside. Everything around her felt strange. The seats were soft. The doors closed quietly. Nothing in the car reminded her of the life she had just left behind. She sat stiffly, afraid to move too much, afraid to ask too many questions. Okafor sat beside her, calm and relaxed, as if this was normal life. Zainab could not hold it in any longer. "Okafor," she said softly. "This place, these cars. I don't understand." He turned toward her. His eyes were gentle, not proud. "You will soon," he said. The car slowed and stopped. Zainab felt her heart jump. The doors opened. Guards greeted Okafor with respect. No one questioned him. No one looked confused. Zainab stepped down carefully. Her legs felt weak. She looked around, trying to understand what was happening. Okafor wheeled closer to her. "Zainab," he said, "I owe you the truth." They entered the house together. Inside, people stood in neat lines. They greeted Okafor respectfully, then turned to Zainab. "Welcome, madam," they said. The word echoed in her head. Okafor spoke again. "I am not who you think I am," he said. "I was not always like this. Before the accident, I was known by many. After it, I learned something important. Zainab listened, holding her breath. Money attracts people, he continued. But it also hides the truth. I wanted to know who would see me without it. Zainab's eyes widened. I am Okafor Okeke, he said. I own businesses. I have money. I chose to live quietly. Zainab felt dizzy. You are rich? She asked. He nodded. Very. She sat down slowly. When I lost the use of my legs, Okafor continued, many people disappeared. Even the woman I planned to marry left. I decided never to choose love by wealth again. Zainab remembered the junction. She remembered the small help she had offered him without thinking. I saw you, Okafor said. You gave me help when you had nothing. That was enough for me. Tears filled Zainab's eyes. I thought my life had ended today, she whispered. Okafor reached for her hand. No, he said. It is beginning. Zainab looked around. Nothing felt real. She thought of Titi. She thought of her father. For the first time since Baba Sani died, her chest felt light. The convoy had taken her away from shame. It had brought her to truth. Zainab did not sleep that night. She sat quietly, her back against the wall, thinking about everything she had heard. Each word Okafor spoke replayed in her mind. Rich. Businessman. Disguise. Kindness. None of it felt real yet. At dawn, Okafor asked her to sit with him. I know this is a lot, he said. I did not want to shock you, but you deserve the truth. Zainab nodded. Why me? She asked. Why choose someone like me? Okafor did not answer quickly. When he finally spoke, his voice was steady. Because you saw me as human, he said. Not as money. Not as a burden. He told her everything from the beginning. How the accident took his legs and how people he trusted disappeared. Friends stopped calling. Business partners avoided him. The woman he planned to marry walked away without looking back. I became invisible, he said. So I chose to live like one. He explained how he dressed simply and stayed on the streets, watching people. Some mocked him. Some ignored him. Some insulted him. And then you came, he said. You did not laugh. You did not pity me. You helped me quietly. Zainab remembered that day clearly. She had not thought twice. She only saw someone who needed help. I knew that day, Okafor continued, that whoever I married must be someone like you. Zainab felt tears fall. I was ready to suffer with you, she said. I believed my life had ended. Okafor shook his head. No, your life was only being tested. Later that morning, Okafor told her his next plan. We will return to your stepmother's house, he said. Not to fight, just to end that chapter properly. Zainab felt fear rise in her chest. She will pretend, she said. She will deny everything. I know, Okafor replied. But truth does not need noise. They arrived quietly. Neighbors gathered, surprised by the cars. Titi came out smiling, her voice sweet. My daughter, she said, reaching for Zainab. Zainab stepped back. Okafor spoke calmly. If I was truly poor, would you still call her your daughter? Titi froze. Zainab finally spoke. You broke me, but you did not destroy me. I am leaving, and I am not coming back. Titi begged. Zainab did not argue. She turned and walked away. That was the moment Zainab understood Okafor's truth fully. Not the money, not the house, but freedom. Zainab thought she was done with the past, but peace did not come immediately. Days after leaving Titi's house, her mind kept returning to everything she had endured. Okafor noticed the silence in her and understood it was not fear anymore. It was unfinished business. One evening, Zainab spoke. I need to see her again, she said. Not to fight, just to close that door. Okafor nodded. Then we will go. When they returned, Titi looked different. The confidence she once carried was gone. She stepped out slowly when she saw them, her eyes filled with fear and regret. My daughter, Titi said, falling to her knees, forgive me. Zainab stood still. She remembered the insults, the hunger, the torn letter. Her chest tightened, but she did not let anger speak for her. You hurt me because you could, Zainab said calmly. You took advantage of my weakness. Titi cried. I did not know. If I knew he was rich. Okafor raised his hand gently. That is the problem, he said. If I was poor, would her life mean less? Titi had no answer. Zainab looked at her closely. For the first time, she did not feel small. She did not feel trapped. I forgive you, Zainab said. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. Titi wept harder. Please take me with you, she begged. Zainab shook her head. I am not your savior. I am your lesson. They left without looking back. Life slowly began to settle. Zainab returned to her books. Okafor kept his promise. She enrolled in law school and started again, stronger than before. Enemies tried to harm Okafor, but the law handled them. Betrayal was exposed. Justice followed. One quiet night, Zainab sat beside Okafor. "I kept my promise," she said softly. Okafor smiled. "You did more than that. You became the promise." Zainab looked ahead, not behind. Her story did not begin with marriage. It began with courage. And it ended with freedom. After leaving Titi's house, Zainab felt a quiet calm settle inside her. It was not happiness yet, but it was freedom. For the first time since her father died, her heart was no longer heavy. She had faced the past and walked away without anger. Life with Okafor slowly found its balance. He did not rush her. He did not control her. He treated her like an equal. Every morning, he asked what she wanted for her life, not what others expected of her. That alone healed many wounds. True to his word, Okafor helped Zainab return to school. Her admission was processed again. When she received the confirmation, she held the paper for a long time. Her hands shook, just like the first time, but this time there was no fear. "I made it back," she whispered. On her first day at the university, Zainab walked into the lecture hall quietly and took a seat in front. No one knew her story. No one saw a servant or a beggar's wife. She was simply a student of law. That night, she sat alone and thought of her father. "Daddy," she said softly, "I kept my promise." Okafor also kept his own battles away from her as much as he could, but trouble still came. Some people who hated his success tried to hurt him through lies and betrayal. One of his workers was caught passing information to enemies. Zainab watched how Okafor handled it. There was no shouting, no revenge. He handed everything over to the police. "Let the law speak," he said. That moment strengthened her resolve even more. She studied harder. She paid attention. Law was no longer just a dream. It became her purpose. Months later, Zainab returned once more to the old neighborhood. This time not to confront, but to forgive fully. Titi came out slowly when she saw her. Her shoulders were bent. Her pride was gone. "I wronged you," Titi said quietly. Zainab nodded. "I know." There was no argument. No long speech. "I forgive you," Zainab said. "But I will not return." Titi cried. Zainab walked away. As the days passed, Zainab grew into herself. She was no longer defined by pain, poverty, or pity. She was a woman with a voice, a future, and a promise kept. One evening, Okafor looked at her and smiled. "You walked through fire," he said, "and came out standing." Zainab smiled back. "They tried to bury me," she said, "but they only planted me." And at last the promise was fulfilled. And that's the end of today's tale. We hope it brought a smile, a thought, or a little bit of magic to your day. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video, subscribe to Tales Vibe for more weekly tales, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We love hearing from our story family all around the world. Until next time, keep your heart open, your imagination alive, and remember, laughter and lessons always go hand in hand. See you in the next story.